We are literally in the attention economy. Content creators, copywriters, business owners, everybody is in the attention economy. And if you're not getting people's attention, you don't have a personal economy. You don't have money. You don't have gross and net profits. You don't have affiliate sales. You don't have funnels that convert. You don't have VSLs that grab people by the proverbial throat. So, what is it that grabs attention? How do we, better way to ask the same question, help people to self identify, get them immediately emotionally engaged? And while a lot of the old copywriting templates and model systems are all built around hurt them and heal them, scare the shit out of you, you need that's cortisol, you need dopamine. There has to be the reward, not just the risk. And that's where a lot of copywriters, business owners, less so content creators, because content creators are much more evolved for this new attention economy to bring that 1 minute rant full circle. So, what does this look like? Here, this is nasal fresh. I don't know if any of y'all have ever used a neti pot or gravity rinses, but this is different than a gravity rinse. It also has suction. So the idea is that you're able to not just do sinus irrigation, rinsing out the sinuses, but right here is where 80% of colds and flus start. So you can have really interesting conversations. And since the sinuses are some of the most sensitive tissues, if not the most sensitive tissues in the body that we can reach just readily, more so than gargling the mouth, but actual upper sinuses. This gets into the upper sinuses where gravity rinses don't, where they fail, where the inflammation won't let them get. So let's say the prospect is at a coffee shop and you have like a Sora opening of somebody at the coffee shop. Sora, here's your Sora prompt. Somebody's at the coffee shop writing on their laptop, and the person sitting next to them at the table next to them starts coughing and sneezing, blowing their nose. There's no voiceover, just the copy, uh, or just the opening, just the prompt. And so that Sora opening is going to set the stage for people to self-identify. No opening line needed. But over that Sora opening, so that we can, in the attention economy, not just hook visually. The visual hook is a big part of any VSL opening right now, by the way. But not just the Sora opening of the person at the coffee shop, because we say 80% of colds and flus start in the nose, and then we show the germs going up the nose, right? So the Sora prompt is going to show that. By the way, TikTok is running AI advertising. So if you're wondering, even as a shop person, can I run AI? Yeah, you can. Has to be disclosed, but you absolutely can. So if you have and on Meta on YouTube, these types of openings can kill. So you have the Sora opening, somebody coughing, sneezing, and the germs going up your nose. 80% of colds and flus start in the nasal cavity. And then you show how the bacteria is then causing inflammation and closing everything down, right? There is an example of an opening that would even outperform what I just did here, but I could also use this as my next line, right? So, what my current opening line that I have written down here that is performing with a visual hook of me holding a Kleenex with olive oil and turmeric. That's the visual hook. So, opening lines these days are huge. They're hugely important. They're everything about a VSL's performance, but so is the visual hook. And I might even dare to say the visual hook is even more important, which Damn, right? That's pretty incredible. So I want you all to think about when, first of all, you're sitting down, like, for instance, what elements are you going to use? So let me just take this and go over here for a second. I have some other openings as well that I'm going to use, but I want you to reveal the elements or heuristic puzzle pieces behind this script. So right off the bat, hidden enemy, huge wads of mucus. They all get stuck up in there, right? Let's share this. So it all gets stuck up in there, right? That's the hidden enemy. Now, if we go back over here, the immediate CTI, call to identity. If you have ever heard of CTI, whoever taught you heard that from me. I am the original person to talk about self-identifying being more important than hurt 'em and healing, hurt 'em and heal 'em, scaring the shit out of people and overdoing the cortisol, right? We also have to trigger dopamine. And so when you reveal the deeper core or the hidden enemy, right? And the deeper core here is your immune system is under constant attack. And if your immune system is under constant attack, then no matter what you get exposed to, you're much more likely to get sick. You're much more likely to get a cold or flu. Why? Because your immune system is stressed. What if you can take that stress off of it before it ever has to overly protect you? Now, people I've seen in comments are like, Mark, your immune system needs to be stressed. Yeah, it does. Your immune system needs to be exposed to things in order to become more resilient and evolve. Absolutely. However, you can absolutely take stress and pressure off of the immune system by getting the junk that accumulates where 80% of colds and flus start easily. So, first of all, let's just go. Okay, we got more hidden enemy continued. Yeah, the inflammation, the invisible blocker. So if I'm using a neti pot as the symbol, the neti pot is gravity. And if there's too much inflammation, then the gravity won't go through. It won't drain. It won't rinse. And it certainly won't reach into the deeper sinuses where all the gunk festers and becomes infected, becomes sinus infections. I could start out with an opening line that says, I suffered from sinus infections for years. Anybody sneezes next to me, I'm sick. Boom. There's a creator style opening, right? And that's just me revealing my story. I could say, I didn't know most colds and flus, 80% of them, I didn't know 80% of colds and flus started in the nose. And that's why I was constantly getting sinus infections. I had, we can have an opening line. The reason why so somebody, let's say we go back to the Sora opening. Let me just back up. Sora opening, somebody sneezes, coughs, blowing their nose at the coffee shop. The person next to them we're showing the animation going up their nose. Okay, so now the germs are up their nose and then immediately start causing inflammation as they're multiplying. That's what actually happens. That's where the mucus comes from. Mucus trying to get that out. That's the response. Now, what happens is the mucus gets caught in the inflammation and then that starts to fester. That starts to get infected. So it puts stress on the immune system and it then causes a sinus infection. Now, what we do, and this is what's interesting. So I'm going to go up here. The first 48 hours of congestion determine whether it's a cold or sinus infection. That's the opening line of a new potential script. Now, that doesn't feel very meaty. So I need more emotional versions of this times 20, right? So now I need to start getting that first line honed in. I got the positioning point of the 48 hours. I could add the element of hidden enemy The winter time is the worst because everybody is around you sick. I can go after people in food service and say, um, when everybody worries about the other people at the restaurant when it's the people serving you who can't stay home sick because they don't have sick pay. They have to work. Their bosses are saying, well, how sick are you really? Right? There's a Sora opening. And the boss says to the barista, how sick are you really? And then you see the barista behind the counter taking your order and giving coughing on you, sneezing on you. And then you're sitting down and then the person next to you is coughing and sneezing. We double bang them, right? The attention economy, the visual hooks. So we have a Sora prompt that gets us that opening scene while we say the first 48 hours decide if you're sick for 3 days or 3 weeks, right? And then when we have a mechanism that allows to beat gravity, beat inflammation, that not just sinus wrenching, but suction, so that we're able to get the deeper shit out that festers and becomes the 3 weeks, right? So this is just a quick insight into how I look at using prompting. And I'm going to end it there. If you want to see more of these live demonstrations, I do them a few times a month, and they're 2 hours where I break this shit down like crazy. That's copyprompting.com, copyprompting.com. That's copyprompting.com. And you'll see that I already have some master classes in there going over VSLs, how to write ebooks, all that kind of shit. Check it out. I appreciate for those who watched, and I will see you later.